What's up, everybody? I've got a 2013 Subaru Impreza in the shop today. A customer towed it over, said that they lost the clutch, basically. Clutch went to the floor, sticks to the floor, pedal won't come back up. So I figured I'd kind of show you guys what's going on with this. I already kind of know what's going on with it because I've had this happen before. It's actually not that uncommon, especially on these Subarus with the mileage that it has. This guy's got a little over 100,000 at this point. And I know kind of what's going on because he was in here a couple weeks ago. His throwout bearing was making some noise. So we already kind of knew it was going this route. But figured I will kind of make a video and show you guys what's going on, ripping everything apart, what we have to do and what failed, and all that good stuff. Alright, so just a quick confirmation down here. States when the clutch is pushed in, pedal goes to the floor, clutch here, push it down, doesn't come back up. Doesn't come back up. So we know we have an issue with the clutch when the pedal won't come back up. Generally speaking, either going to be an issue of hydraulics, so an issue with the slave cylinder or the master cylinder, or in this case, what I believe happened, I'm pretty sure what happened on this one, is that the throwout bearing just broke, which means there's a good chance that the fork's damaged, and that basically, you know, nothing's really working in there. So we're gonna investigate this a little bit more. Gonna get this thing set up on the lift, get it in the air, start ripping things apart. All right, so under the hood now, couple things. I like to start anytime you're doing like a clutch or, you know, pulling a transmission, that type of thing. I usually try to do whatever I can up top before I pick the car up and go underneath, so that way I don't have to keep going up and down and back and forth and everything. It just saves time. So on the Subarus, there's not a whole lot that needs to be done up top, really. It's mostly done underneath. So, you know, first things first, disconnect the negative terminal on the battery, so we don't get zapped, you know, playing around with the starter, because that's going to have to come out. Undo this clamp, this clamp here, both 8 mils. Usually there's a little plastic thing here that holds that in. On this car it's gone, and then this just kind of moves up and out of the way. You can disconnect this hose down here if you want, but generally speaking you can kind of just pull this up and out of the way and have enough room. Once that's out of the way, you have a good amount of space to work with, and basically we're just going to disconnect anything that's attached to the transmission. So on this, couple things here, this dog bone mount attaches to the transmission with this little bracket here, so we'll undo that. Should be like a 12 or 14. Starters right there, slave cylinder right here that you can see. That's going to be 2 bolts. Undo that. Starter is going to be 2 bolts, and then the electrical connector here, little blade connector it looks like. Slave cylinder, you can unbolt it, fold it out of the way with this hydraulic line. Undo that ground strap there, because that does connect down to the transmission. And then on these, it's a little bit tucked under here. It's kind of hard to see, but there is a dipstick down here, I believe, on these for the transmission fluid. So we'll get that stuff kind of taken care of, and then once that's all taken care of, we can go up and start taking care of things from the underside. Now on this side, here's one thing right off the bat we're noticing a problem here. This is the slave cylinder. Push the clutch pedal, moves this little piston hydraulically into that ball detent on the shift fork, which, as we can see, it's not connected there. Fork, probably good chance that has some damage on that throwout bearing side, so we're going to check that out. But you can get a good look here. Got the ground strap right here undone, and I just kind of fold it back up out of the way over here. That's a 12 millimeter head bolt. This is going to be 14, and then these two 14s right here, and we can just pull this slave cylinder, fold it out of the way. You don't have to disconnect the hydraulic line. You can leave it hooked up, save yourself the headache. We'll do that, and then you got top starter bolt, and then there's another one down here that we'll also have to get. And on this side there is these two electrical connectors here. They just have a little push tab release on each of them. You can push them, work them free, and then there is a wiring clip for the loom, and that goes right into that little bracket there. So this bracket's actually attached with a bolt that goes through it for the transmission. So you don't have to do anything with the bracket. You can leave it. When you take the bolt out, you can take this bracket and just kind of throw it over there, with the wiring. But really the main thing is just disconnecting these two and then separating it. And then we can get this dog bone mount undone, get the starter out, and I took that ground strap off. So that's pretty much it for up top. All right, so we got some of that cleared out of there. Dog bone, got that up out of the bracket, just that 14 mil bolt. There's a washer on each side. 2 bolts holding the slave cylinder out. Fold the slave cylinder up back here. Took the top bolt of the starter out, which also has this bracket going through it. This is where that ground strap bolted to. So just keep that bracket with that bolt. So that's the top starter bolt. The bottom one I'll just do once I have it up in the air. That's easier for me. You can do it up top if you can reach, or you can wait till you go, underneath. It doesn't really matter. And then on this side, like I said, disconnected those 2 electrical connectors, pushed them on top of the transmission. That wiring goes with the transmission, so that's fine. I did also have a bracket down there. Same thing like the starter bolt. Top transmission bolt goes right in here through that bracket, so don't lose that bracket. I just like to keep it with the wiring, like I said. And then this bracket, I'm gonna leave it for now. Worst case scenario, pop that off if we have any issues, but I feel like that one can stay if I remember right. I'm just not positive. It's been a minute since I've done one of these. But that's basically it for up top. So now we are gonna go, there's that dipstick for the fluid. So we're gonna bring it up. We gotta drain the fluid out. Get that last starter bolt out so we can remove the starter, and then start ripping everything apart on the low end. Shop's getting hot already. Dehydration's your first enemy in the field, remember that. All right, now that we're under the car, you can see the starter up there, that bottom bolt right there. Much easier to get to when you're under the car, so that's why I like to do it that way. We'll have to drain the transmission here. It's like a T70 Torx, real nice, special, stupid-ass Subaru socket. These axles, if they're fine, we're going to leave them, but if you wanted to replace them, now's a good time. You got to pop them out. So I'm not going to go through a whole thing on how to take out axles. I'm sure there's a million videos if you want to really know. Essentially, the way I do it is I leave the pinch bolt because they always seize. I take the castle nut off, hammer this, and just pull the control arm down, get the ball joint up and out of it. If you have to disconnect the sway bar end link to get a little more flex in the arm, or you could always just use somebody to help pry it for you. But the axles have to come out. This exhaust pipe, this cat pipe that connects back here, has to come out. Usually these bolts are kind of shitty and the gasket's kind of shitty, so we'll replace those while it's out. Otherwise, there's one bolt here that we can take out, and then up front here there is 3 more. They should be 14 millimeter heads, we'll see. On some of these, you might not actually have to do that. I don't remember on this one. We'll see if you actually have to remove the exhaust or not. Some of them you only have to remove like a part of it. This one, yeah, we'll see how it goes. But this support bracket here, a couple bolts there, bolt on the end, bolt on the end. Those connect to the transmission mount, and then there's two more back here that are part of it. These two that hold it to the body. Those will also be a part of it. And then we got to get this heat shield down and get the drive shaft right there out of the back of the transmission. So that slides out on that side. Back here, you just got a couple nuts and these like rivet stud type of things, which we can pop out. Check this U-joint. Those go bad a lot. You'll get vibrations from them. You'll be able to tell moving it around if it's shit or not. But yeah, I mean, other than that, there's not a ton. Once that happens, we'll come in here and take the, a couple bolts off the transmission bell housing area and separate it. A lot of times the biggest problem on these Subaru transmissions is just separating it from the engine. They get seized up pretty good on, there's like little dowels that are in the case of the transmission. They go into the block. But yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Right now, we just gotta start taking shit apart and get to a point where we can get this transmission out of here and see what's going on with that clutch. Alright, so quick thing I wanted to show. If you work alone or you don't have somebody around to help you out, you're trying to, separate this lower control arm and get the ball joint out of it, and it's just too tight, can't get it to move. You don't want to disconnect the sway bar link because it's going to spin and break and you're going to get stuck replacing that. You don't want to break any bolts off for the sway bar bushings. You're like, I don't really want to do any of that. They sell these tools, and these things are amazing. It's just this little bracket. It goes through a pry bar and just connects to like that on the lower arm. And then you take a pry bar and get a pretty big one. And you just slide it through this guy. And then, you can put it back far up as you can. And I'll just kind of, sorry about that, one-handed at doing it. Pry down with this. And now you can get, look at all that leverage you can get now. So, these things are amazing. Help so much when you're working by yourself. This is usually what I do when I'm by myself here, just to, get these things freed up. So with my other hand, I can push the knuckle up out of this lower control arm. But I just wanted to show you guys, if you do work alone, you're removing a control arm or something like that, these are an awesome tool. They're real cheap. You can get them on like Amazon and stuff like that. If I find a link, I'll throw it in there. I'm not affiliated with this tool. I don't even off the top of my head know who makes it, but it is a highly recommended tool if you work by yourself. Alright, so now that we're under the car, I have this exhaust pipe disconnected. As you can see, that gasket is in pretty rough shape. This flange tends to rot on the Subarus. Usually it's good enough to still, if we replace the gasket and clean it up, it'll still seal. This side of the pipe is perfectly fine. So we just got this kind of suspended, dropped down a little bit so we could get the drive shaft out. You can see down at the end there, we got that out. That's on the ground now. Check the U-joints on it. Definitely check the U-joints on it. They're not uncommon to go bad. Like I said, they will give you vibrations. So these ones seem okay, so we're going to roll with that. And then connects to the back of the transmission here. We are going to have to take this bracket brace thing out, as well as the bottom shifter bushing, and I usually take out, let's see, so this one here, take that nut off, and then this bushing and arm for the shifter linkage will slide off. That's the front shifter bushing. We'll replace that one. We don't usually need to replace anything up here. There's a nut on top of this that goes to that 12mm head bolt there. That'll come out so we can disconnect the linkage. And then if I spin it around here, this is the rear shifter bushing. Got those 2 bolts and then the rubber in the center. So we'll try to wrangle up a couple of those from Subaru to replace while we got it out. Now, the biggest issue, and it's an issue on like everything in New England, because everything in New England is a rusted piece of shit, especially Subarus, right? Is this exhaust flange here. That is what is left of the nuts on this pipe. There's 3 of them. There was 3 of them, I guess. They're shit. I don't know why, with all the technology out there in the world, some egghead engineer can't figure out a better piece of hardware to make that doesn't rot away. But that's what we're stuck with. So now we get to fuck with that. These are unfortunately not bolts going through. These are studs. They thread through the backside. So first things first, we're going to try heating the shit up out of these and see if we can get whatever's left of it to twist off. I've done worse. They will come off with some heat sometimes. If that doesn't work, then you basically just have to drill it out, blow a hole through it with a torch, whatever you got to do to get it done. Nut and bolt it. But it does look like this exhaust pipe has to come out of the way, so that way we can get this bracket out of the way and then get the transmission going. We drained it, took the axles out, which were obviously seized as well. Basically everything's rusted and seized because, you know, I'm stupid and I chose to open a shop in New England, and these are, you know, the things you get because of that. So we're no stranger to it. It's never any more fun, but it is what it is. We'll overcome. Starters out of it. Stud on the bottom, bolt on there. That's going to be those 2 there for the transmission coming out. The starter bolts, those come out. This is that dowel that I was talking about too. You can see it kind of right there. We're going to soak those down. Sometimes you got to heat them. Sometimes you got to really, really fucking slang and bang on those things to get them to come out. And then a couple bolts on this side as well. And there's a dowel over on, looks like this side too. Come from this angle so you can kind of see it. There it is. So we'll keep slanging and banging here so we can get this transmission out. All right, so here's kind of what I'm doing with these rotted exhaust nuts and studs. You can see pretty well on these. There's not a whole lot left to the nut to grab on, even if I heat them up. So instead, what I've done, at least with this first one, and it worked pretty well, was you can kind of see I cut into it with a torch. So I cut this piece of the nut off with the torch, which still seems to have preserved the threads. Now, what I'm going to do is knock this piece off now. I mean, you can kind of see there's a little bit of separation there now, which is awesome. I wasn't really sure this was going to work, to be honest. But it does seem like it is. So you can see that piece is now separated there, and I can just kind of hammer that off, get that piece off. The rest of the bolts, that one up there, that one down there, I'm going to try to do the same thing, just so, you know, I don't have to mess around with these studs if I don't have to. Worst case scenario, drill through them, torch them off, use a stud extractor, whatever the hell you want to do. I like using torches. I'm very, very familiar with using torches in this New England environment. So this might be something that the person doing it in their driveway isn't going to really want to do, which is totally fine. But I'm going to go this route because it seems to be working. So we're going to keep trying with that. And that is the end result. See if I can focus on that for you. Not much left to that nut, let me tell you. That's why you got to be handy with the old smoke wrench up here in New England. Made quick work of that. So we're gonna try doing that for the other two, and that's a pretty good one right there. That hardware right there, premium hardware. Number 2, successfully removed as well. And we got number 3 as well. Right there. As you can see, studs are all intact. Might just have to clean them up a little bit, but pretty good all said and done. Got these guys all nice and taken care of. So now that pipe can come off, and let's see there. 3 for 3, baby. Still got it. Still got it with the torches, huh? Look at these fucking pieces of shit. Well, we'll replace that hardware, get a new gasket. That pipe can come off, and then we just have to get stuff off the back of the transmission here.